I was recently going through some hard copy files here, and looking at things that I can discard that I don't need, and then looking at some other things that might be useful. And when you go through old files, it can bring you back to a period, and you can remember just all the things that were going on during that time. This particular time that I'm going through with these files that I'm looking at was a time where I was really working diligently to build a business and build some new relationships and come up with some new products and some new strategies and so forth. And I came across two files that are very interesting. One is my son's file, because he was working with me at the time. And it's interesting as I go through it. Here's a card that I gave him congratulating him on his first sale that he made for the company. And I have his script here that he was going through and some of the companies he was working with. I also noticed this is a flyer we used to give out about a seminar that I used to do. And also notice here in the back that he apparently was planning his own business at the same time as well. I have to give this to him. It looks like some kind of beer festival he had in mind, using some of the Taylor Insight techniques: ale, Belgian style, black and tan, blonde ale, cream ale. I have to share that with him, let him know that I found it. The other thing that I came across was this list of, whoops, almost dropped it. This list of contacts, and about 2,000 names here that we were really working on diligently and building relationships with. This is a printout of some of those names and some of the people we were focused on at that time. Some of these are still valid, but this is probably, this might be 10 years ago that these files come from. And I wanted to make this point about these files and about business in general. During this period, we were really working diligently, trying to make some things happen, and frankly, it was a tough time. A lot of things were going on that were very difficult. And while we were working on all of these things, we were also contending with just challenges. In fact, I remember one morning, I picked up the phone. It was my son calling, and he was calling to tell me that he had been in a traffic accident, and he had damaged his car and was going to get started late that morning. He had spent the night at a friend's house, and he was on his way back to work with me. And I could hear in his voice his the stress of that moment and that situation. I tell you all this because I want you to know that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a sales professional, that there are periods that you're going to go through, and as you go through them, it's just going to seem like, wow, this is one challenge after another. It's going to feel sometimes quite difficult. It's going to feel like, my goodness, am I going to get out of this period? Am I going to make some headway? And and this, I'm telling you, this is after decades of working at business and knowing what I'm doing. So what I'm telling you is that every business has its cycles, and even very successful businesses and very successful entrepreneurs will have periods where something they thought was going to work doesn't work. Something that used to work doesn't work anymore. They try something and it doesn't work for them for whatever reason. And I guess the underlying message here is not only to keep going, as many people say, but it's also to try it again. Because sometimes there are things that you do in the wrong mindset. You do coupled with other things you're doing that don't work. You might have the wrong team. It might be too early. It might be any number of things, and for whatever reason it doesn't work. You have to go back to your strategies. You have to go back to your files. You have to go back to things that you've learned and say, okay, is this relevant today? Should I try this again today? and give it a try. Try that sales letter again. Try that promotion again. Try that group of prospects again. Try that segment of the business that didn't quite work before again. Go at it again. There are many things that I'm doing today that I first did a decade ago, 5 years ago. I have videos that people look at that I recorded 5 years ago, 6 years ago. People look at it and say, wow, I love that. Great message. And often they don't realize that this is an older video. And so the thing I always say is that there are principles in business. And those principles, once you understand them and you implement them, you'll realize they will work over and over again. They'll work in multiple businesses, multiple markets, multiple situations. But sometimes you just don't see the return and the results in any given moment because there's something that has to be tweaked. Maybe you don't have the video capability that we have today. You didn't have the technology that we have today. The internet is not as fast. There aren't as many people online as there were. The comfort factor, people going online, buying, doing certain things, very different today than it was 10 years ago. So you might find that you had some great ideas that you were implementing, moving along on, and for whatever reason they didn't work. And it is worth revisiting them. Now, it doesn't have to be 10 years ago for you to make this assessment. It could be a year ago. It could be 2 years ago. I keep ideas and I recirculate them and reuse them. And I take different spin on content, different spin on an event, different spin on an approach. And I believe that is something that really serves me very well, because I come at what I do not with the perspective of something that people have just learned, that they just discovered, but something I've been doing for a long time and have a different perspective about. So if there's something that didn't work in the past, something that you were tentative about, something you were even disappointed about that didn't come through for you, try it again. Give it another shot. Try it with a new spirit. Try it with a new effort. Try it with a new approach. If you have someone to help you do it, if you have someone who can work with you on it, get that person involved again. I'm going to call up my son and tell him I found his file and see if I can enlist him to do some more projects with me. But I think that is a principle that's worth applying to your business. I've talked to people often, and I'll say, have you tried this or have you tried that? And they'll say, well, I did this and it didn't really work. Or I tried that and I wasn't sure whether it was going to work, so I stopped. And often it is that tentative feeling, that tentative mindset that is actually preventing it from working. You're not going at it with full throttle. You are apprehensive. You have fear and doubt associated with it, and you're not all in. Go all in. Try it again. The results might surprise you. You might find things that you did a long time ago produce results for you today. If you like this tip, give me a thumbs up. Let me know you liked it. Share it with someone in your network. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. A lot more here and a lot more coming. And I'll speak to you next time.